Hey guys, Trevor here from LumeCube. We are out at the sand dunes waiting for the sun to go down, where we will get into some long exposure photography or light painting photography. So what exactly is long exposure photography? Well, long exposure photography is taking a photo that lasts anywhere from 1 second to 10 seconds to 30 seconds or even more. And it makes all of the moving objects in your photo blurred out, and it makes all the static objects sharp and in focus. Now this is where light painting comes into play, where you can use a light source like a LumeCube to create some really fun and engaging visuals. So what kind of gear do you need to shoot long exposure photography? Number one, you need a camera that is capable of manual settings. So today we'll be shooting with a Sony a7R III. So any DSLR will probably do, and even some smartphones now can shoot long exposure photos, which is pretty cool. Number two is a tripod. Since we are shooting longer exposures, like 30-second photos, you will need a tripod to keep your camera nice and steady, or else we'll end up with some blurry and not very good looking photos. And third, we will need a light source, especially if you want to do light paintings. LumeCube's LEDs are specifically designed to help creators create some really cool visuals with light, like the LumeCube 2.0 or the Panel Pro. If you don't have any LumeCube gear, you can always use your iPhone's flashlight, or I started out just shooting the car tail lights that were going by on the street. Now that we have the gear that we need, we can dive into some basic camera settings. And be mindful, these settings are not exactly what you should be shooting with. Long exposure photography is a game of shooting and adjusting. So these settings are what you can get started with, but then read your scene. See if you want to adjust shutter speed, ISO, or aperture to get the photo that you're looking for. So first is ISO. And if you don't know what ISO is, it's essentially your camera's sensitivity to light. The higher your ISO, the brighter your image will be, but it also introduces some noise or grain into your image. And next is your aperture. An aperture is essentially how much light your lens is letting into your camera. Lower the aperture, the brighter the image will be, or more shallow depth of field you'll have. If you shoot at f14, more things will be in focus, but your image will be darker. Shutter speed is really the important setting you'll want to focus on. You'll really want to think, how much time do I need to let my subject pass through my image if you're doing light painting or whatever you're capturing. So you can start off with a shutter speed around 10 seconds, 15 seconds, or 20 seconds, and then adjust from there. And lastly, before you start shooting, make sure you put your camera in timer mode. This will make sure you don't have any camera shake, because essentially every time you press your camera shutter, there's a little bit of movement when you pull your hand off. So putting it on a 2 or 5 second timer will ensure that you're not touching your camera anymore, and you will have a smooth, sharp image. All right, now that we got our camera set up, we understand the settings that we're shooting in, we can start to play with some lights. Once you introduce lighting into your image, there are endless creative possibilities, and today we'll focus on 3 different techniques that you can try off the bat. For technique number 1, we will be drawing with light. So find someone with good handwriting and have them write out their name or a picture or something visually pleasing with a light source. And for this, you'll want to find a light that has a low light setting. And for this, we use the LumeCube 2.0, because if you hold both buttons for 3 seconds, it drops into a low light mode. And what this allows you to do is draw with light without blowing out your image. And the second technique is basically flooding your scene with light. Now this is more about lighting up an entire area with an even spread of light, compared to the previous technique that was more about drawing with lines of light. And for this, we will be using a Panel Pro, our most powerful light in our line, to basically light up an entire area. All right, and for technique number 3, we'll be spinning with lights. So what we did here, we tied a LumeCube 2.0 to the end of a string and essentially spun it around in different ways. This creates a really cool lighting effect where you can do halos or even create some orbs around the person that's spinning them. Well, there you have it, long exposure photography and light painting 101. Thank you for watching. We hope this helped you get a better understanding of long exposure photography and light painting. Probably the most fun you can have with a camera. If you do go out there and create some long exposure photos, be sure to tag us on Instagram at LumeCube. We would love to see what you create. We'll see you next time. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We hope this helps you get a better understanding of, dude, this beetle, dude, there's a lot. They're all over the place.